complicated story, in fact. When I took over Harry Winston, the idea was to restore the watch division to the same level of excellence as the high jewelry division. And we could only do that with having fantastic movements. We already had fantastic diamonds. What we were missing was amazing movements. And where do you get fantastic movements? Was through the independent creators, who were in those days absolutely not considered for what they're worth. Now, the real story of Opus started by helping a friend. 2000 Basel Fair, François Paul Journe is for the first time presenting his brand, and he tells me, it's very frustrating because I actually can't tell people what I did before, because whatever he did before was for the greater brands. And we're walking down this escalator from 1-1 to 1-0, and I turn to him and I say, well, we should do a product together. We, Harry Winston, would tell the world what an incredible creative genius you are in watchmaking. And we could get your fantastic movements. So it was a fantastic win-win. And it started off like that. It started off like helping somebody who deserved to be helped, and we could actually get access to some amazing movements. We did our errors. we had some tough moments. I mean, we all know that Opus 3 took virtually 10 years to come to completion. It depends on every watchmaker. Each one has got his way of working, and you have to adapt to it, but also each Opus, one after the other one, we started understanding that you had to put some sort of project management, which we didn't initially, and that's why, for example, with Opus 4 and Opus 5, we actually delivered the pieces virtually a few months after the launch, and they all work with no quality issues. It's a learning curve. There are few. I only did 5 in the series, which now counts 12. Clearly, your foundation piece, like my HM1 at MB&F, is the piece which starts a series. It's the first piece, which is often the most difficult to create. So Opus 1 has a special space in my heart. Opus 3, because it gave me the most grey hairs, because it took 10 years to come to completion, and it wasn't under my management that it came to completion, and I have to thank Harry Winston, who took that project to completion, even though financially it was a disaster, because they must have spent millions more than what we had already spent to take that project to the end. And Opus 5, because with Felix it just clicked, and we created an incredible project, probably the first real 3-dimensional machine given time, which was then going to become what I am trying to do at MB&F. Very much so. I have to commend again all the people at Harry Winston who kept that project going. Opus is about asking a watchmaker what he wants to showcase, and each Opus is a completely different character, because each watchmaker is a completely different character. You get a piece of the soul of the life of those watchmakers when you get an Opus, and Harry Winston continued that by giving complete free rein to the watchmakers, and you can see that every single Opus is completely different and always amazing. So hats off. Clearly, Henri John Belmont and Günther Blümlein. Henri John Belmont is the man who actually coerced me into getting into watchmaking when I was going to work into some sort of big multinational company, and without him my life would never have been what it is. He saved me. Probably didn't realize it, but he actually saved my life by getting me into the world of watchmaking and living alongside him for 7 years at Jägerle. And of course Günther Blümlein, because the man was probably the most brilliant man I've ever met in our industry. Incredible vision, relaunching Jaeger and IWC, recreating Lange from scratch. Wow, he was a man of great charisma, but also knew how to respect talent, and I learned a lot from him. I actually cannot think about about that. In my creative process, I refuse to think about how people will perceive what I do, because if I do, I will tone down whatever risk-taking I'm taking. I often say how much I was scared before we launched the Thunderbolt that nobody would ever want to buy that piece, but we still did it, and that's why I'm so proud of what we did. Is we actually created something thinking, my God, nobody's ever going to buy this, and the perception will be whatever it is, but I'm not going to influence it. I'm ready to tell the story. I'm very happy to explain what we do and why we do it, but I don't want to start influencing what people think. There are two ways of creating now at MB&F. Initially, with the horological machines, it's 100% guts. It's very much, I call it my psychotherapy. I started just by doodling, and those doodles became machines, 3D machines, which I realized afterwards only came from my childhood. There were spaceships, there were space platforms, there were fighter planes. But I actually didn't set upon saying, I don't want to create a spaceship. That's not what happens. I doodle, and it comes out, and then we make it. And then there are the legacy machines. Legacy machines are much more an intellectual process, where I sort of start imagining what would I have done if I'd lived in the 19th century. And that's less guts and much more head. And it's a very complex creative process, because now every year we come out with either an HM, either an LM. So I'm continuously going from one part of my creative process to the other. It's not easy.